Hi again. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the correct way to introduce your dog to a crate and how we can avoid making mistakes that will cause negative associations with the crate. Right. So I like to start with an analogy in this situation. When you take your child to daycare, and you might not all have children, but you will know people who have children, so I'm going to start with this analogy and hopefully it helps. When you take your child to nursery or daycare in the very beginning, you don't go there and leave your child alone in the care of strangers from the beginning, right? From day one. You slowly introduce the concept to the child, maybe by showing them how an older sibling or what their experience is like, maybe showing them at the older sibling's place of study, school, nursery, etc., what they're up to, talking to the child about it, maybe introducing some of the activities that are done at daycare or childcare or nursery in the house first, maybe organizing play dates with other parents who you might know go to the same nursery. But you gradually introduce your child to the idea of going to school where they're not going to be with you. Going to the crate or being sent to the crate is not like going to the school in that way, but the distance from you can be introduced slowly. You don't want to start a dog off by simply putting the dog in there and walking away. In fact, what I like to do is I don't even shut the crate door for the first couple of days. Okay, when a dog comes to stay with me and board and train, it's a new environment and the dog might get destructive or, freak out because it's a new environment and I'm not at home. Of course, when a dog comes to me, I start differently. But if I am doing private training with a client, I never suggest closing the door on day one. I allow the dog a good week and a half, maybe 2 weeks of getting familiar with the crate, doing fun activities, fun drills, exercises with the crate that build a positive association in the dog's mind. And then start to slowly close the door as the dog is more used to being in that space, right? So you might start by just tossing some treats in there, door open. You might start by giving their dinner to them in there. If it's a puppy, I don't like making the crate too comfortable because they don't have the ability to control their toilet habits just yet. So there's a likelihood of them getting into the habit of peeing on anything soft. You might say, hey, I don't mind, I can wash the thing, I want to make my dog comfortable. But you might accidentally be teaching your dog to pee on soft things. And then they get into this habit where they come out, they see a rug, they see a foot mat, and they're like, oh, this feels familiar, I'm going to pee here. So I like to avoid that. Anyways, so don't make it too comfortable just yet. I like to add these things in after the dog is more reliable with holding their toilet, holding their pee, indicating to me when they need to go, etc. Give them lots of treats in there. Try and feed them their meals in there. Be present. Have the crate door open when you're not actively training so they can go be curious. Reinforce every time they go in there. So if I like to have little small tubs of treats around the house so that if I catch the dog doing something that I like, I will quickly reward. So around the crate, maybe you should have some treats. If the dog goes in there, he might go in there because he's used to finding treats in there. He might just go in there out of curiosity. Either way, going into the crate results in treats, and that is creating a positive association. Now, the role of treats is a topic for controversy. Some people will tell me, hey, I don't want to use treats all of the dog's life, so like, when can I stop using treats? And I have other people who want to keep giving treats forever and never really stop giving the treats. Now, I like to think about it this way. If we're doing a 12-session course, for about 6 sessions, we're going to be using a lot of treats. Between sessions 7 and 8, we're going to be very strategic with our treats. It's only going to be a reward. We're not going to bribe the dog. We're not going to induce the dog with the treats anymore. but it's going to be very strategically used as a reward after the dog has done what we've asked. And then towards the end, by the time we get to session 12, even if you don't have a reward on you, your dog's going to do what he's being asked to do. And you can reward them later if you like. So I sometimes like to give one big jackpot if the dog's done really well, especially when they're still in those early phases of like we finished the course, but he's doing, you know, something very different from what he used to do when we started the course. I like to still continue to reward the dog for a while. And after, say, a couple of weeks or maybe even 1 or 2 months, I might say, okay, I don't have to reward the dog every single time. I might give the jackpot treat more as a surprise once in a while, so that keeping the dog guessing rather than make it a transactional thing where the dog's doing it just because it's going to get a treat. But every dog's different, and these details we will go into later. But I like giving the dog things to look forward to in the crate. That was the point of this video when we started. The other thing I like to do is when I do start to close the door of the crate, I am present. I don't walk away, right? So every step is taken slowly. I'm not in a rush. I want the dog to get comfortable with the space rather than feel forced into the space. I want him to feel comfortable before the door is closed, so that when the door closes, it's not such a shock. And also, as you do start to change these variables of like you being present, you not being present, you being present but not really visible, etc., I like to work the dog through these in stages rather than just expecting that the dog is now comfortable with his crate because he's got so many treats for 2 weeks that now I can just disappear for, you know, a whole day and the dog's going to be fine. No, I like to take it in steps. All right, so that is how I would introduce the dog to the crate, and that way you can have a dog that isn't stressed by the crate because no negative associations were made with it in the beginning.